In our last video, we explored how much you can get done with the free version of DevTools. And today, we are diving into the pro version with intelligent guided tests to see if it really delivers on its promise. Is it worth $45 per month, or is the free version good enough to test for accessibility? Stick with me till the end, because by the time we are done, you will know exactly where to invest your time and money. DevTools is like that true friend who does not sugarcoat things. It looks at your web page and says, hey, your buttons are labeled, your color contrast is trash, and your model forgot to behave. It's a lightweight browser extension that requires no setup. Simply add the extension to your browser, scan your page, and boom, you are checking for accessibility violations in seconds. The free version gives you instant scans for common accessibility issues. It's great for developers doing quick unit tests and testers double checking the builds. But what if you want more than just a surface level scan? Enter IGT, or Intelligent Guided Tests. It's X Pro's VIP feature. It's structured manual guidance backed by DQ's smart automation. Here's what IGT walks you through step by step. Structure. Are headings logical and ARIA used responsibly? Keyboard support. Can you navigate without a mouse? Modal dialogues. Do they trap focus and restore it after closing? Interactive elements. Are buttons, links, and inputs accessible? Images. Are all text descriptive and appropriate? Forms. Are labels properly associated and errors announced? Lastly, tables. Are they using semantic markup and proper headers? It asks you yes or no questions, show visual cues, and teaches you as you go. IGT has a surprisingly lean learning curve. It guides you like a checklist, explains why things matter, and builds your accessibility muscle one guided test at a time. Even better, you don't need to be a senior developer or an accessibility expert to understand it. IGT is your coach, not your critic. We will be using the sample website provided by DQ University itself. And if you have DevTools installed, simply right-click, go to Inspect, and then under this navigation, search for DevTools. Now, in my previous video, we covered the free version wherein we did the full page scan. Today, we will begin with the partial page scan, and then we'll deep dive into the intelligent guided tests. Partial page scan gives you the flexibility to select a component where you perform the testing on. So let's do that. I'm going to select partial page scan, and then I'm going to make sure that mouse selection is on, and then I'm going to make selection for this menu item. It's going to be challenging at first to make the precise selection. This is where you have to be patient and make the selection of the right component. So now that I have selected a component which is our menu panel as per the ID that they have given, this is something that we will be testing for the partial page scan. Now let's click on scan button. Let it perform the testing, and it identified one issue. Now it's the same for a free version once they have identified the accessibility issues. If you click on it, and if you highlight which element is causing the issue, it will highlight that this image, which to me is more of a logo, it says link must have discernible text. And if we scroll down, this anchor element or hyperlink is missing accessible name. And it also gave you the solution to this problem. It says to solve this problem, you need to fix at least one of the following. Element does not have text that is visible to screen reader. We don't want text for this. Provide ARIA label attribute, which does not exist or is empty. So the simplest fix would be to provide ARIA label for this. Now this is how you test for the partial page scan. But coming back to the main topic of this video, we are going to perform the intelligent guided test for all the components mentioned here. But as the best practice, always start with structure. And that's what we are going to do today as well. Click on structure. It's analyzing your page. Now read through the instructions. It says, let's get started. Testing for structure on. It lists out which URL we are about to test. And it says, before you hit start, make sure you have put your site into the state you wish to test for. Now remember, DevTool will only test what is visible on the page. If you have a model and you want to test for a model, you have to trigger it. If you want to test for a combo box, you have to make sure it is in the expanded state. So this is why it is calling out, make sure that your site is into the state you wish to test for. And second instruction, please do not scroll or interact with the pages while we capture screenshots, because you will be interfering with its functionality. We will not do both of these, and I'm going to hit start. Now we have few questions to address. It says we have highlighted the 35 headings we could find on your site. Do you see anything that should not be headings? And if you look on the right side, under destination Mars, we can see there's a paragraph, and that's also marked as a heading. So our answer will be yes, some of them should not be headings. And I'm going to say yes to that. Press next. Now it says select any headings below that should not be headings. So we identified this section should not be a heading. I'm going to select it. And for our demo purposes, I'm going to select be bold, which is on top of the number 1 image, to not be a heading, and select next. Now it's asking, are there any headings we missed? So there are chances that DevTools also miss some of the headings. And this is your opportunity to look into the actual page and identify elements. So just for this demo, I'm going to say nope, nothing is missing, and press next. Now it says we have highlighted 16 lists we found automatically on your site. Do you see any that should not be a list? So the same activity we performed for headings, we have to do for list. If you find that a list should not be a list, you have to call it out. Let's look into our page and say, like this Mars, follow Mars, and this one, this should not be into our list. I'm going to say yes, some of them should not be list, and press next. And then we have to make that selection. So if I come here, not this one, or this one, yes, I'm going to select this section, which I don't want to be a list. This is again just for demo purposes to explain what will be rendered at the end. Now it's asking, are there any lists we missed? So I'm going to say nope, nothing is missing. Press next. Now it says our AI has detected that the document language is English, but the document language attribute is set to unknown. Is this the primary language used on the page in fact English? And I'm going to say yes, the primary language of the page is English. Press next. Now it's asking, are there any additional sections of content which differ from the page-wide language? Now remember, one, you have to give the main language at the HTML level. And secondly, you have to provide different language attributes for the various languages used on the page. So for example, if you are using Spanish content on your page, you have to provide section level language attributes. I'm going to say no, because I believe we do not have anything which is apart from English. So I'm going to say no and press next. Now it says review the title of each frame and determine if it is accurately describe the purpose of the frame. Now we do have iframes, that's why it is detecting it. And this is coming from the social media handlers that we have at the bottom. It says Twitter follow button. I'm going to say yes. Now it was capturing screenshots, and then this is the final result for the structure test that we performed manually. It identified 4 issues based upon the input that we gave. So similar to the free version, now you can highlight the element, inspect it, and then come back here. And if you need further help, there's a link which says more information. It will take you to DQ's doc page explaining what the violation is and how you can fix it. Now let's go back to our Mars website. I'm gonna say finish this test. It's gonna ask whether you wanna save this, what's the name that you wanna give. Let's keep the default name that it has created for us. And then we will go on to the keyboard navigation. After structure, we should always test for the keyboard navigation, and that's what we're gonna do next. Click on this plus, which is start keyboard run. Again, it's gonna say before you hit start, make sure you have put your site into the state you wish to test it. And do not scroll or interact with the page while we capture screenshots. We are not gonna do any of these two and press start. Now it's gonna run the automated scan. It's gonna identify the different actionable and visible elements on the page. It's gonna assign the tabbing labels to each of the identified elements. Let's give it a minute to perform the keyboard tab tests. All right, we have 153 tab stops that were recorded. Now it's asking us to click next to continue. But before we do that, there's a button which says replay tab order. If you want to visually see what is the tabbing order, and on your right, it has listed out all the tab labels. So these are the labels that I was mentioning, that X will point out the label, the tabbing labels. Let's press next. Now it's capturing screenshots of all the potential tabs that it identified. Now it says select any elements not already highlighted that should be in the tab order. If there are no other missing tab stops, click next to continue. And it says that their AI has found 8 additional elements which appear to be interactive and therefore should be in the tab order. And they have pre-selected each of these with AI predictions. Now, if I have to click on this, I'm going to use this highlight button to jump directly to that element. I'm going to click it again. Let's do it one more time and see which one is causing. This is coming for the fairs and schedules. And this is for the radio button. I believe this radio button group should be in the tabbing order. So let's keep it there. Let's select the next one. I believe it's for Mars commuters passes radio button. And then we have for the Mars commuter reservations. Let's not change anything on this. I'm going to press next. Now it says we have detected some elements which were skipped in the tab order. Do each of the following have a way to use the same functionality using the keyboard? Now if I have to select this, I'm directly taken to that section. Now it says whether you have an alternative for this or not. For now, I'm going to say no. There is no alternative and press next. It's capturing screenshots again. And now we have the final list. It identified 5 issues. It says the contrast between the text and its background is not at 4.5:1. And you can press on the highlight button to understand which element it is calling for. Let's finish on the keyboard test. Next, let's go on to the interactive elements. I'm going to click on plus sign here. It's again the same message. Do not hit start. Make sure that your site is in the exact state and do not interact with the page while they capture screenshots. Let's begin this testing. Now it says 160 interactive elements found and highlighted. Select any additional element we missed. And it has called out there are 8 elements which should be interactive but are not called out. So if we have to find, again, it's the same radio button as that of tabbing order, same for this. Let's make sure that B bold, countdown, and blast off headings are not in the interactive elements. Let's press next. Now it's gonna capture screenshots. I will be showing you the report that it generates once we are done with all the tests. Now it says, select the interactive element you would like to test. And you can group it by 3 different versions. You can do intelligent, the one that is by default, by role, or none. So let's do by role. So we have role link. Then we have role radio, combo box, or none, where for elements which do not have any role. Let's go back and let's select this Facebook login. I'm gonna press next. Now it says validate the accessible name, role, and state of each element below. So what is the accessible name? It says login. What is the role? Link. And states, no state found for element, and rightly so. There shouldn't be any state for a regular button. Next, it's asking, does the accessible name and hint login accurately describes the element meaning? It does. It's a login button. I'm gonna say yes. And then it says, select the role which accurately conveys the element's purpose. It's again a link, so let's gonna keep it that way. And this is where the next section which says the initial state. And you can have disabled, pressed, expanded, selected or checked, or read only. So this is where it is important that you test in the state in which your application should be. I'm gonna keep them as default and press next. The final verdict, it says there were no issues raised during this test. I'm gonna say finish. Let's go back to interactive element one more time, rerun the scan, and select at least one other scenario wherein we are gonna fail it. I'm gonna press next. Let it capture the screenshots one more time. I'm gonna select it by role and select the sign in button. Select next. And here I'm gonna say the accessible name is not matching, just for testing purposes. I'm gonna say no to this. I'm gonna give an incorrect role to it. I'm gonna press next. Now it is saying there are issues. It says element's accessible name is missing or is not appropriate for the element's purpose. This is how, when you are looking through the interactive elements on your page, it gives you step-by-step instructions whether the accessible name that has been provided is accurate or not, whether the role of the element that you have provided or the developer has provided is correct or not. This is how you can use the interactive, intelligent guided test to test for its accessibility. Let's finish this test. And then we are gonna go for the images. I'm gonna say press plus and quickly start it with the same instructions that it provided. Let it capture all the screenshots. And then it says select the image that you would like to test. Let's do for this hamburger menu that we have and do next. It says select all the images that are used solely as decorative. Now, who decides whether this is decorative or informative? If it is actionable, it should be informative. If it is only for occupying space, then you can call this as decorative only. I'm not gonna make that selection. Let's do next. It says select all of the images, excluding logos that contains informative text. This does not. Let's do next. Does the accessible text tells you what the image is for? And what is the accessible text? My cart, $0. I believe the icon that is being used in it is incorrect. However, the name is the right reflection. It's the right accessible name. Let's do next. And it says there are no issues found. And if I say that no, the accessible name is incorrect and say next, It will say it found one issue and that's related to the alternate text, which is not meaningful. So this is how, when you're testing for images, this is your opportunity to use IGT to validate the alt text for images if you're getting started in accessibility testing. Let's finish this and test for forms. One of the most critical elements that we should be testing for. Let's press start on this. It found 3 forms and it is asking us to select which form we want to test. Let's see what form 2 is. It's the first section and then we have form 1. Let's go with form 1. I'm going to say next. It has found 10 fields and it is asking us to click next to continue. Do you want to test the highlighted form field? I will say yes. We think we found a group of fields. Should the highlighted group of fields actually be a group? I would say yes. These are radio groups and part of book your trip section. I'm going to say next to this. It says, do any of the fields in the group have their own individual labels, including placeholder text? And as we can visually see, we have one way, round trip, and multi-planet. I'm going to say yes and click next. Then it is asking, are there symbols like asterisks or text that tells you this group is required? I would say no, because we do not have such thing. I'm going to say next. Don't select any options in the highlighted group. Leave it blank and then submit the form. Does an error shows on the form? If I click on the search button, it takes us to different page. So we are not going to do that. But I'm going to say no, it does not gives me the error and select next. It says, do you want to test the highlighted form field? I believe we have already done that for one of the items. I'm going to say no and select next. Same thing for the next radio button. I'm going to say no and select next. For this input type text, I'm going to say yes and select next. Same question is going to ask, is it part of a group of related fields? I'm going to say no. It's an individual field. Say next. It says we have highlighted a form field and its nearby labels. Please choose the correct visible label that go with this form field. If there are no labels, click next. So we have form, so I'm going to select label and select next. Now it says, does the label for this form field stays visible all of the time? And the answer is yes, it's always available. Let's say yes. But for testing purposes, if you want to see the error in real time, I'm going to say no to this. Let's click on next. Does this visible label accurately describe the purpose of the form field? I will say yes. Next, are there any asterisks for required field? I'll say no. And same thing, does the error highlight? I'll say no and click next. Now it's asking you to enter the bad data, but because this functionality is not supported in this web page, I'm going to say yes. Do they have an error field? Let's assume that it does. I'm going to hit next. Look at the error and any instruction that go along with the field. Do you understand what you need to do to fill out this field correctly? Again, this is your opportunity to test for the error messages, whether they are descriptive, informative, and meaningful for a screen reader user or not. I'm going to say yes and press next. Now it says fill out the field according to the error message instructions and then submit the form again. Is the error message for the field gone? I'm going to say yes. We rectified the error and it went away. Do you want to test the highlighted form field? I'm going to say no to all other fields so that we can go directly to the end results. Now it says when you submit this form, will any of these things happen? Check all that apply. A financial transaction will be completed, or a legal commitment will be made, or a student test or exam will be submitted. Because if you are doing that, you have to ensure there's a method for a user to review, make modifications, and then make the submission. That's not what's happening in our case. I'm going to say I'm not going to select any of these and press next. It's capturing screenshots and it identified two issues. It says no visual group label is present. I'm going to highlight it. And this is because we selected it in that way. Same, it says label is not persistent because we said when we start entering data, the label is not consistent as is not displayed all the time. Let's finish this test. So now we are left with model dialog and table. And this is your challenge of the week. Create an X Pro account. You will get 14 days of free trial. Run this tool, open up X DevTools, run the model dialog, and share your observations in the comment section. Now let's see what reports we have generated so far. If I click on view saved tests, so if I click on this, now this is the brief dashboard. You have 51 total issues. 24 of those were automatic issues. 27 were the guided issues. And among those, you have 20 critical issues, 29 serious, and 2 moderate. And if I have to save this, I'm going to save it as export issues. Let's save it in the CSV file. Because I saved it in the CSV format, it has the entire table. What element we tested, what was the issue, what help do they offer, what help URL, if you need help, you can go there. What is the impact, whether it was severe, critical, or moderate. And then you have whether it was manual test or does it needs review. Then it provides this selector if you want to use as part of your automation testing. And then you have the summary, like how you can fix it. Look, it also provides the source code. I'm looking for the screenshots. Yes, you have a screenshot at the end. If you click on it, it opens up a screenshot that it took while performing the test. So this is how you can look into the report, share it with your team leads, and make sure that all the accessibility violations are remediated at the end of the day. But the big question is it worth investing $45 a month? $45 a month is a significant investment, especially if you're just starting out. So who really benefits from X Pro with intelligent guided tests? It's worth it if you are new to accessibility and need structured guidance. A tester or a developer who is still learning how to evaluate websites manually. Or someone who is looking for a tool that teaches you while you test. It's like a training wheels, but way smarter. But if you're a seasoned accessibility pro, you probably have built a muscle memory for what to look for. Manual testing is your second nature. And this is why you might find IGT not worth the price. In that case, free tools like Andy, built by the US Social Security Administration, offers fantastic support for quick manual checks. I covered that in detail in my earlier video. The link is in the description. In simple terms, if you need help, X Pro gives it. But if you already know what you are doing, you might not need the extra hand. Here's your challenge of the week. Pick one page from your website. Run intelligent guided tests to test for keyboard navigation, forms, tables, and interactive elements. Drop a comment below with one surprising thing that X Pro caught that you missed before. The goal is to build your accessibility audit muscle and learn how tools can simplify complex testing. So here's the crux of the video. X free version is like a flashlight. Quick, handy, and gets the job done. X Pro with IGT is like a full inspection crew. Thorough, reliable, and perfect for catching things you would easily miss on your own. If you found this helpful, hit the subscribe button. I make web accessibility simple and fun. Comment below which accessibility tool do you use today. And don't forget to press the bell icon because in our next video, I will compare Andy with X DevTools. Let's see which one is better. This is Param Singh signing off.